o'clock to 1 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. So this is May the 25th, 1 o'clock. It's the month of May regular council meeting for the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. I'd like to welcome everyone here. And the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
That is me, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this afternoon?
Not me.
No disclosures, the minutes will so reflect. Item number 4 is delegations and presentations. We have none at this meeting. So I'm moving to item number 5 on the agenda, which is minutes of the previous council meetings. The first is the meeting of April the 27th. Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council received and approved the minutes of the regular meeting dated April 27th, 2020.
Thanks, John. Somebody moved their desks.
Okay,
7 foot.
and, we'll deal with business arising at item number 6 on the agenda. So for these minutes that are in front of us right now, are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And then the meeting of May the 4th, Councillor Dilba.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the Municipality Council receives and approves the minutes of a special meeting dated May 4th, 2020.
Thank you very much. And just before I call the question on this one, because I'm looking for errors and omissions. So to the clerk, was this not a special council meeting? Should the title not show special council?
Through the chair, it should. We're still working out the kinks with eScribe for formatting, so I'll make that correction.
Okay, thank you very much. Receives and approves the minutes of the special meeting dated May the 4th. Can I say as corrected or as amended?
On your agenda sheet, Mr. Mayor, it does show it as special council.
Yes, but not the minutes
Yes,
themselves.
that's correct.
Okay, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now going to item number 6 on the agenda is business arising. So going first of all to the meeting of April the 27th. Does anyone have any business arising from that meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on to the special meeting of May the 4th. Is there any business arising from that meeting? None there. All right, now I'm going then to item number 7, the minutes of various committee meetings held during the month. First of all, the Public Library Board, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated February 25th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Now, motions on the floor, discussion if any, questions? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then the Port Management Committee of April of 15, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated April 15th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Motions on the floor, discussions, questions if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then the Committee of the Whole meeting for the Finance Committee for May the 11th, and that would be Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated May 11th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And then the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities meeting dated May 19th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now I'm looking at item number 8 on the agenda, which is various action and information items coming forward from the committees. And the first item, 8A, the 2020 community grants, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council awards the community grants and donations as follows for the 2020 program. Organizations: Spencerville English County Dance Club in kind, Spencerville Male Foundation, $1,000. Spencerville Business and Community Connections, $400. Cardinal Community Festival Committee, $2,000. Centennial 67 Public School Parent Council, $500. Skip Ventures in kind, Girls Inc. of Upper Canada, $1,000. Spencerville Scout Group, $500. South Edwardsburg Recreation Association, $1,300. Johnstown ATV Club, $300. Friends of the Edwardsburg Cardinal Library, Spencerville Branch in kind. St. Lawrence River Institute Environmental Science, $0 as the program's council, total $7,000.
Thank you very much, and missing from the list, of course, was the Food for All Food Bank. I think we cash flowed $1,000 to them, and the Connect Youth, $500, if I recall it correct. So, motions on the floor, discussion if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And B, the resolution of support, Ministry of Natural Resources, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Whereas the Village of Marixville Wolford passed resolution number R029-20 on January 27th, 2020, requesting the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to provide the village with supporting evidence with respect to the expansion of the wetlands designation. And whereas numerous municipalities in the province of Ontario have recently completed or are in the process of adopting new official plans required for Section 17 of the Planning Act and are required to incorporate the provincial policy statements of the Act. And whereas the provincial policy statement requires municipalities to provide in its official plan the updated provisions of new and expanded provincially significant wetland designation. And whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal is concerned that the new and expanded wetlands may negatively affect certain landowners, and whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal is concerned that the designation of provincially significant wetlands have occurred throughout the province of Ontario without the provision of supporting evidence or consultation with the affected municipalities. And whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal is concerned that certain wetland designations have been expanded without the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry having provided to the municipality supporting evidence to justify said expansion. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal supports the Village of Marixville Wolford's resolution number 9-20, and further that the Council of the Corporation and Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal requests that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry provide the township with supporting evidence to justify the expansion of the wetlands designation, and further that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honorable Premier Ford, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, and the Village of Marysville Ward.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And 8C, Novatech report, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. Whereas the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal has received a proposal from Novatech to develop a 3-phase work plan and fee estimate to guide the Cedar Grove Road site through the necessary county official plan amendment process for land use designations and zoning changes, and a servicing options report. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal accepts the 3-phase Novatech proposal dated May 6th, 2020, and authorize the immediate commencement of the necessary work with an upset limit of $72,500 to be funded from the Modernization Fund Reserve account. And further that any additional studies which may be required be dealt with on an individual basis as the process develops.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any. Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And 8D, the Building Department report and draft fee schedule. Councilor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that Municipal Council, 1, direct staff to schedule a public meeting as required under the Building Code Act later in 2020 to review proposed changes to the building permit fee schedule, and 2, direct staff to prepare a revised building permit fee schedule in advance of the public meeting, and 3, direct staff to prepare a report for an upcoming administration and finance meeting outlining the balance of the building department reserve fund and the percentage that the building department is being subsidized by said fund, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And item number 8E, Reserve Fund Transfer Water and Sewer, Councillor Dilba.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipality Council approves and transfers to and from reserve funds account. From the operating account, the water and wastewater funds in accordance with the table included herein, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance. You want me to read it off, Mr. Mayor?
I don't think that's necessary. Got the main points here.
Thank you.
And the schedule is in front of us there. Now, are there any questions with regard to the changes here? Pretty heavily discussed already. Though, hearing no discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And so then, on 8F, BFL Insurance Brokers, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Whereas brokers of record BFL Canada renewed the Port of Johnstown insurance coverage on March 5th, 2020 without notice of premium due, and whereas the renewal premium was presented on March 11th, 2020 with a $40,000 increase in premium and no alternate options, and whereas BFL Canada appointed as broker of record expires on June 30th, 2020, and whereas the Port Management Committee has recommended the council meet with Mr. Stephen White. Now therefore be resolved that council of the corporation of township meet with Mr. Stephen White, an independent insurance advisor, to one, investigate the services he provides in assisting his clients to place insurance coverage with reliable, experienced, and financially sound insurance underwriters. Two, receive his advice on the township and Port of Johnstown continued relationship with BFL Canada. Three, solicit his recommendations on ways and means of reducing annual township and Port of Johnstown insurance premiums while maintaining existing coverage. And four, determine his fee for services provided.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I have some concerns with this one, and it goes to well, lots of things. Mainly following our own procedures and guidelines. And if I'm not mistaken, when we set policy and we direct staff, and in this resolution, I don't think that was followed in the selection of Mr. White. So I have my reservations about we as council securing people to do investigations. I prefer that we directed staff to, if we wanted to do that, then that we direct staff to find the person to do the investigation. And it very well may end up being Mr. White, but my reservation lies in that we sourced that versus staff sourcing that.
And the reason we did that is because the insurance is a governing body issue, and it comes before the governing body. The other point, of course, is that these independent insurance advisors are very few and far between. When we originally found Mr. Donald Duda about 2008 or so, it took quite some period of time to find him and to get him in touch with council. We have an issue here insofar as the broker of record appointment expires on June the 30th. We know that we are, to put it in quotation marks, we are stuck with BFL until at least the policy renewal period of March the 5th, 2021. And I think it's important that council at least meet with this individual. If you're not happy with him, certainly I think this is a council decision. If you're not happy with him, you have more than ample opportunity to see if there are other individuals around that can provide the same services, but in my experience there are not. So that's why the recommendation is coming forward, and this recommendation is coming from the mayor. Go ahead.
If I can continue back to that, and I don't disagree with the premise behind it. I just think that we're doing staff's job in trying to secure that, to secure Mr. White. I think from my standpoint, we don't have a broker of record, but we do have, we're secured under a policy until March, if I'm not correct there, or if I'm correct, of 2021. So we can indicate easily to our broker of record that we want to shop for a new broker, and have staff do that through the appropriate measures.
Well, speaking to the counterpoint to that, I mean, there are some issues that are political issues and there are some issues that are administrative issues. Staff looks after the administrative issues and the council looks after the political issues. I think that this is a political issue. And my recommendation stands. Further discussion? Councillor Dillabaugh.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And in saying that, Mr. Mayor, I just have a hard problem accepting this, Mr. Stephen White coming in, just for the simple reason, as BFL Canada being our broker, our first advisory is investigate the services of, and provide assisting its clients to place insurance coverages and reliable and experienced financially sound insurance underwriters. Well, the underwriters work for the insurance company, not for us.
No, the underwriters are the underwriters, they don't work for the insurance companies, the underwriters underwrite the risk.
Yes, and the underwriters work for the insurance company.
No. No.
Well,
The underwriters are the ones that underwrite the risk.
exactly. That's right.
They are the risk
Right,
takers.
and so they choose what business they want, and they choose under their risk management that they would like this or not like this piece of business. My concern is, the Port of Johnstown isn't something where we can go down the road and get another company to insure us. I'm not worried about the broker situation. I'm just afraid that when some of these companies hear that what we're doing, they may get cold feet and not feel warm and cuddly.
There are companies that might be glad to have the policy. Don't forget, the policy is over $250,000.
Yes, I know that, Mr. Mayor, and it's a high-risk policy, as we know, as companies are getting off it. So that's my concern on that. And the third, solicit and recommend on ways and means of reducing the annual township Port of Johnstown insurance premiums while maintaining existing coverages. That, again, is BFL Canada. That's their job. They're supposed to come and get reduced and give us the best advice and try to give us the best premium. So for us going outside on an independent, I just feel that we're gonna open up a whole can of worms here.
But all the independent is doing is advising. The independent is not placing the coverage. The independent is advising. The purpose of speaking to the independent advisor is to hear what advice he might have as to where we might find someone else who would place the coverages. He's not gonna place the coverages. He's gonna advise us on where we might find someone else to place the coverages. Now, you're absolutely correct. BFL had that responsibility, and they've had that responsibilities for quite some period of time. Now, unfortunately, they showed up, they placed the coverage on March the 5th without notice of premium, without telling us what the premium would be, and then told us the premium 11 days later, giving us a $40,000 increase. They did not shop the market to get us competitive quotes on this coverage. That's the issue here. Now, when a broker that you've hired for the specific purpose of providing you with the coverage at competitive prices refuses to do that job or fails to do that job, it becomes a political issue, as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this was brought forward by the committee, the Board Management Committee, was brought forward a recommendation to council where we're at here. And I fully concur with the entire resolution, because I'll say it a little harsher. They stuck us with $40,000, with a $40,000 increase, which was, from what I gather and what I've seen, was just a number picked out of the air. We'll throw it at them and see if they take it. I'm offended by that, so I would support this resolution the way it stands.
Councillor Hunter, you want in here?
Again, I don't think we can say, look at it where we're following our policy or not following our policy or one thing or another, but from the experience I've had over the years, we've been found fault different times when we shop banks and when we shop different brokerages. Whereas we're not saying, we may still end up with BFL, but I don't think it hurts to have an outside pair of eyes look at it and tell us whether we're justified with staying with them or not staying with them. I'm disappointed because BFL has been our insurance brokers for quite a while. And other years when I was on council, they always came to us 60 days or more ahead of time with saying that there's possibility the insurance is going up or possibility it's going down. I didn't see this happen here at all. So I don't think it'd hurt to have a outside independent look at it and see whether they actually did do their job or they didn't do their job. He may say, yeah, they did their job, they just didn't tell you in time, but the point of, the time is the big thing with me here. I think they should have came to us ahead of time and they had to know in the market if that's their business. They had to know the premiums were gonna go up, and I think we should have been advised of that ahead of before it looks like premiums are gonna go up and brought that information to us. And I know they had a change of management and stuff here, but that didn't happen, so I support the resolution to go and get an independent one look at it.
You've spoken twice. Go ahead.
I want to ask for clarification. So, through the mayor to the CAO, so are we violating our procedural, or any procedural issues here with procuring a single?
We didn't procure anybody. Point of order, we didn't procure anybody. We've asked for a meeting with this individual. No cost.
Well, it says the last point, number 4, is
We'll
determine the fee.
determine his fee when we meet with him. We haven't procured anything at this point. If we decide that we like him, and if we decide that his fee is reasonable, we may then begin to procure, but at this point, we haven't committed any dollars.
That is correct, there's been nothing procured at this stage.
Okay, I'm about to call the question here. Those in favor?
Aye.
Can we record this one? Sorry.
Yep. Recorded vote required by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
That would be yay.
Councillor Dilaba, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor?
Nay.
And us, the mayor votes yea. Mayor declares the motion carried. Thank you. I'm moving on then to item H, annual Spencerville Lagoon discharge report, Councillor Hunter. Oh, sorry, I missed one, did I?
Yep.
Yeah, G. 8G, Township 5-year insurance broker summary, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council extend the insurance broker of record appointment of BFL Canada until June 30th, 2022.
And this motion is out of order because the issue was decided as a result of the vote on the previous motion. The Chair declares that motion out of order until we meet with Mr. White.
Do you want it or no?
Beg your pardon?
Do you want this stamp copy or no?
Okay, I'm at item number H then, Spencerville Lagoon discharge report, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receive the 2020 Spencerville Lagoon discharge report and direct staff to submit the report to MECPA prior to the June 30th, 2020 deadline, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service and Facilities.
Okay, motion is on the floor, discussion if any, quite a long discussion at the committee meeting. Discussion if any? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now, this is quite a long report, if I recall correctly. And so I'm at
Should be at page 74.
74, that's correct. So, and that is the item 8I, which is the municipal modernization fund, purchase of mobile devices. Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Municipal Council direct staff to proceed with the purchase of mobile devices with protective cases in the amount of $21,092 plus non-rebate HST, and approve the transfer from the dedicated modernization reserve fund to cover the expense as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service and Facilities.
The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any.
Just a comment,
Uh,
if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanna comment on, the revision of it, and I think that it's great that obviously the recommendation of securing these devices was taken, and I think it's one of the best uses, to date of this modernization money. That's it.
Further discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And number 8J, the fuel management card lock system, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council authorize the purchase of 2 Cube MC Box 1.5 units at a cost of $12,000 plus HST, and approve a transfer from the dedicated modernization reserve fund to cover the expense, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And number 8K, declare property as surplus South Street. And Deputy Mayor, you have that one as well.
I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council, 1, declare the land legally described as PT Lot 3, Water and Sewer, WS, Spencer Street 4, WS, Spencer Street Plan 40 PT 1, 15R-6898 as surplus to the needs of the township for sale by means of public tender. And 2, direct staff to follow the remaining steps outlined in the sale of the surplus land policy and return to council with a minimum price tender, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities. That was tough.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And item number 8L, service delivery report. Service delivery review report. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council receives the final copy of the service delivery review report and direct staff to release the final payment amount of $3,163.15 to WSCS Consulting, Inc., as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Can you record this one too as well, please?
Okay, recorded vote requested by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. I'll call the roll. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay, with a lot of regrets.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps?
I'm voting nay with those same regrets.
And I'll vote yea with a lot of regrets as well. Motion is carried. And item number 8M, the Port CO COVID-19 rent relief. I think Councillor Dillabaugh, you have that one?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council authorize the Port of Johnstown to lower rental fees for the Bridgeview Restaurant for the months of March, April, May, and June of 2020 to 0. And number 2, authorize the Port of Johnstown to lower rental fees to the St. Lawrence Marina for the months of March, April, and May of 2020 by 50%, as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
Councillor? Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And I'm at item number 8N, which concerns the Port of Johnstown financial statement. Now, I think that one's Councillor Cameron.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that Municipal Council receives the 2019 Audit Findings Report and the 2019 Financial Statement for the Port of Johnstown as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
Okay, so, good meeting with the auditor, and we have the right terminology here. Municipal Council receives the report. And discussion, if any, here?
I have one, Mr. Mayor, but can't find it though, but anyway. It was concerning about our petty cash, I guess, of how we do business with some of our monies that comes in of cash, and he said he sent a letter to Rob, I wish I could find it, to Mr. Daly.
That was discussed at the Port Management Committee?
I'm sorry?
That was discussed at the Port Management Committee, the audit finding report? The issue that you're bringing up was
Yes.
discussed at the Port Management Committee? It was in the audit findings report?
Yes, and what was it? How are we gonna rectify it? Or-
The Port Management has responded to the auditor's concern?
Okay. That's it then, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Wish I could find it.
Well, it was, had we been able to have the full meeting of the council meet with the auditor as they did just previous to this meeting, you would have seen that it's a relatively, it's an important issue, but a minor concern, if I
Yes,
can put it that way.
no, I realize that. I realize it in his notes, it was just a minor concern, but I just wanted to know how we're proceeding with it. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion on the motion before the floor, which is to receive the audit findings and the financial statement? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried, thank you. And now we get to item number 8O, which is the township financial statements, the consolidated financial statements. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that one.
Yep, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the municipal council receives the 2019 audit findings report and that the municipal council receives and approves the 2019 consolidated financial statement for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal.
Okay, so, again, this was, subject of discussion. I'd like to, just call a brief recess here, 2 minutes. I'd just like to meet with the CAO and the treasurer for just a second concerning this motion. So just calling a brief 5-minute recess. And could, the treasurer and the CAO just meet me just briefly? Or we're just discussing some of the wording, but the motion is on the floor, as it is. And I'm just gonna read it again. That municipal council receives the 2019 audit findings report, that's in the package, and the municipal council receives and approves the 2019 consolidated financial statement for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. So that's the intent of the motion, both intents captured here. So is there any further discussion here? Hearing none. Those in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. So now, just so the council is aware, the auditor is clear from our meeting earlier that there's to be separation here. The audit findings report is of course separated from the financial statement. And the audit findings report is the document that looks like this. So we're receiving it, but we're receiving and approving the financial statements. Now, the financial statements are the responsibility of management. So we've received them and approved them. Theoretically, now what happens is that those financial statements go to the auditor, and the auditor expresses an opinion. Now, if you look on, I think it's page 1 of the financial statements, you'll see that the auditor has already done his work. And basically, he's prepared to issue an unqualified opinion on these financial statements. But that doesn't come until after he has received the council approved consolidated financial statements. So there's still more to come on this issue, which is to receive his opinion. Now, moving now then to 8P, which is the Township Recreation Contingency Plan. And Councillor Hunter, I think you have that.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that Municipal Council 1 direct staff to prepare contingency plan for the township recreational pool facility reopening, and 2, direct staff to determine if there are sufficient qualified students available to operate the pool as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And item number 8Q, Regional Reopening Guidelines Concept. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Okay, this is the long one, everybody. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, whereas on March 17th, 2020, the province of Ontario announced that it was declaring a state of emergency under section 7.0.1 sub 1 of the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, so that the province could use every power possible to protect the health and safety of all individuals and families during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas on April 3rd, 2020, the province of Ontario gave notice of changes to Ontario Regulations 82/20, being the order of the temporary closure of places non-essential businesses. which reduced the list of essential businesses permitted to continue operating during the provincial state of emergency. And whereas on April 27th, 2020, the province of Ontario released a framework for reopening our province, which outlines the criteria Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health and other health experts will use to advise the government on loosening of emergency measures, as well as guiding principles for the safe, gradual reopening of businesses, services, and public spaces. And whereas stage 1 of the framework is opening workplaces that can immediately meet and modify operations to meet public health guidelines and occupational health and safety requirements. Whereas many rural municipalities in Ontario were not impacted with large number of COVID-19 cases. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal supports and endorses the concept of creating regional reopening guidelines. And further that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal requests that the Province of Ontario consider permitting the creation of regional reopening guidelines. And further that a copy of this resolution be sent to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario.
Thank you very much. Okay, the motion is on the floor. We're going on record here. And speakers to the motion? Okay,
I
go ahead.
strongly agree with this motion. I think that, rural Northern Ontario should not be held back while we wait for Toronto to get itself in order.
Further discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And item number 8R, concerning Cardinal Boat Dogs, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Cameron, that the municipality council directs staff to proceed with the purchase of one additional floating dock from Levesque Fabrication in the amount of $6,500 plus non-rebated HST.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor, discussion if any? Go ahead.
I like that motion of putting in another dock. I still feel we can put a dock in front of the pavilion though. And if we had those two new, I don't know, Mr. Cameron, what would you call them? I call them pegs, what would you call them?
Well, they could be called stanchions or pegs, very
Pair of
colorful,
stanchions
they're colorful.
installed in front of the pavilion and make our docks that are down there sitting, have them installed too in front of the pavilion. But I am all forward to the new dock.
Well, let's get one thing clear. There's already a boarding ramp and a floating ramp coming, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we have a
This-
ramp down and a floating dock parallel to shore, still to be installed. And I'm understanding this week sometime,
Within the next 2 weeks, Mr. Mayor.
within the next 2 weeks.
This one would be attached to that.
And so this would be now a third one at the canteen or the pavilion, the little sales pavilion there.
That is correct.
So an additional cost of $6,500, doesn't say where the money's coming from. Do we have any
It does.
Yes.
guidance
Yeah,
from
it does.
staff?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor, it would be financed through the CIP Township project. There's 10,000 in the 2020 budget. Township CIP
Okay, so
projects.
those, that CIP didn't cover what was already done on the boat launch area?
No, that was through capital project.
Okay, so in this case, there's no reference in the motion to the source of funds, so I don't know whether your staff, whether the council wants to add a source of funding here or not. I didn't realize, it doesn't, the motion doesn't say that it's a budgeted amount, but apparently it is. So Counselor Cameron, do you want in here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, I like the recommendation. So let me get this clear. We're going to have a boarding walkway and another dock just east of the canteen fishing docks. Am I correct?
The handicap dock.
Yes, just east of the handicap docks.
That is correct.
Okay, and I do concur with Councillor Dillabaugh that I would like to see docks in front of the pavilion. I think I've measured it, I've walked it, I've marked it out, there's not that much difference in grading from the road to the dock, or to where we would put the dock in. I just think that those docks would be well utilized if they were put in. So I would like to see if there's something we can do with the old docks that we have. Put one or two of them in. That would be great. In my opinion. I will be supporting this recommendation, of course, but with the added idea of docks at the pavilion.
Well, the added idea of docks at the pavilion is not in this motion.
No, it is not. I'm just putting that, nor is Councillor Dillabaugh's recommendation regarding the same thing. It's not in this, but if there's something that can be done to put a couple of the older docks in, that could be brought up at a later time.
Well, or it can be brought up as an amendment to this
It
motion.
could, yes, it certainly could.
Counselor Hunter.
I'm all in favor of us putting the extra dock in there if we want. That's gonna tie up 4 boats, 5 boats.
No,
Maybe
they're only 24 feet, one
Maybe
boat.
one.
24 foot.
Not gonna tie them up lengthwise, they're gonna nose in and tie them, because I'm sure you can tie 4 boats up there.
No, not to get out, because the boat has to be alongside. So
Piggyback maybe a 4. Like one there and tie it on to the next one. I've seen that done.
how do you get out, over the bow?
No, you get out from the other boat. I've seen it done.
You step
Mr.
into
Mayor.
the other
Oh, I see,
Yeah, yeah.
side by side,
That's
which
right,
side?
that's right.
With permission.
Just the 2 though, not triples.
You're not letting somebody go out like that.
I wouldn't,
Besides,
yeah.
Go ahead, Counselor. Counselor Hunter has the floor.
on the thing here, we're gonna spend a whole bunch of money, and we're applying for grants and stuff to beautify and improve this down there. We've got 2 sets of beautiful new docks for the launch. We got a handicap dock there. Now we're gonna have 2 big, nice new aluminum docks there. I think that's more than ample enough docks down there, and you really want to throw in those old crappy looking docks down there beside your new docks.
Okay.
Let's get serious here. We're trying to beautify it, not make it look like we're putting the old docks in on top purpose,
Okay,
to
so-
get rid of these docks. So.
As of this point in time, the motion just deals with the new dock for $6,500.
I know, I'm just saying, like, it was brought up, and you don't need that many docks. That canteen never makes money down there, because there's never enough crowd to make money off it, so, like, we're not building a marina.
Okay, any further discussion on this? The issue on the floor is just the purchase of 1 additional floating dock from Levac Fabrications in the amount of $6,500, and the CAO has told us what the source of funding is going to be. So, any further discussion on the motion?
Can I amend that motion, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I mean, the chair's always prepared to accept amendments, provided you can find seconder. Provided you can find a seconder. What's the proposed amendment?
I'd like to amend that we put two stanchions down in front of the pavilion and install the docks that are sitting on shore and bring them up to the pavilion, as Mr. Cameron and I have put forward. And use the additional funding of $10,000 towards the two stanchions that's left over out of the 6,500.
Well, just a minute now, there's three things here now. So I'm gonna first of all try to capture your amendment, and you're looking for a seconder. And the intent of the amendment is that the existing, I'm gonna word in the word old, the old existing floating docks, I think that's the ones you're talking about. Presently on shore at the boat ramp. Be installed in the area in front of, no, you're talking about the pavilion, or are you talking about the canteen?
The pavilion.
The pavilion,
The pavilion, the picnic table pavilion.
Right.
correct.
In front of the covered pavilion. So not the canteen.
No, covered pavilion. With all that writing, Mr. Mayor, I get a second.
Yes, so do I. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Cameron is seconding. All right, so now, the amendment is, and that the old existing floating docks presently on shore at the boat ramp be installed in the area in front of the covered pavilion. Okay, that's the intent of the amendment. Have I got it captured correctly?
I think so.
All right, so, discussion on the amendment first. Those, anybody wishing to speak to the amendment?
I already spoke to it, I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, that's one speaker. Anybody else to speak to the amendment? All right, I'm about to call the question on the amendment.
Recorded vote.
Okay,
And your CEO wants to speak.
what's that? Okay, just, okay. Just give me 1 second, please. All right, now, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the reasons why we did not recommend moving those old docks was because the reason that we're replacing those old docks is that they've reached pretty close to the end of their useful life. They are susceptible to the river levels more so than the new designed dock. And if the existing docks that were in place were okay and not reaching the end of their useful life, or they were providing the service that council expected them to do, we wouldn't have replaced them. The whole point of replacing them is they've served their purpose.
Is there a plan for disposal?
there are some options being contemplated at this stage.
Well, they are a municipal asset,
They are,
and they cost us, I think, if I recall correctly, in around 2008, well over $25,000. Okay, so is there any further discussion on the motion, on the amendment, before I call the question on the amendment? Recorded vote requested by Councillor Hunter. All right, I'm gonna call the vote with the roll here. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
That would be yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And how does the mayor gonna vote? That's it. The mayor doesn't have to vote. It's already decided, 3-1. The mayor will vote yea. Motion is carried. The amendment is carried. Now, so the amendment is carried, and now I'm gonna call the question on the motion as amended, which will be both operative clauses. So I'm not gonna read them both again, calling the question on the amended motion. Those in favor of the amended motion,
Recorded on this.
recorded as well. And Councillor Hunter, Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Nay.
And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And Mayor will vote yea as well. All right, so the motion will be carried as amended. Okay, so now I'm going to item number 8S, which is the Cardinal Arena drainage tender. And Cardinal Arena drainage tender, I think that's Councillor Cameron.
It is. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Dillabaugh, that municipal council, one, award the Cardinal Arena drainage tender, EC-PW-20-7 to Naps Paving Limited at a cost of $66,040.29, including non-rebated HST, and two, authorize the remaining budget of $1,459.00 to be used as contingency at the discretion of the Director of Operations for smaller unforeseen items that may arise during the project. And three, authorize the Director of Operations and Treasurer to execute the contract documents.
All right, that's the motion on the floor. Discussion if any? Hearing none. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so then I'm at item number 9, which is correspondence, and Councillor Hunter, I think you have that.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. The municipal council received the correspondence listed for the following dates as previously circulated: April 30th, 2020, May 11th, 2020, May 15th, 2020, May 22nd, 2020.
Sir.
Thank you very much. And discussion if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And we're then to item number 10, which is approval of the municipal disbursement sheets. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron that the municipality council approves payments of municipality invoices circulated and dated as follows. Reported dated May 1st, 2020-47, $157,076.85. Reported date May 21st, 2020-50, $229,676.86, and reported date May 21st, 2020, 51, $284,905.34, for a total of $671,659.05.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion's on the floor, discussion if any. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, this question either is for the treasurer or for Mr. Spencer. I see under Rideau St. Lawrence on page number 2, Cardinal Arena, which I believe was for March 20th. Rideau St. Lawrence is charged as $20,311 and change. I'm just wondering why, if you could tell me why that just seems extraordinarily high for the month of March, when we pretty much shut it down about the 17th. Also, then on page number 3, sorry, that's in a different batch, that would be on page 179 of the roll, and it's the month of, which appears to be April, is 8,000. So in 2 months, that's almost $30,000 that we're looking at. I'm not saying there's anything in the line here. I'm just wondering why the amount, especially the 20,000, would be so much in the month of March. Is there perhaps is extra electricity used to take the ice out, which I believe we did in March?
So through the chair to the treasurer.
Treasurer or Mr. Spencer, yes. I'm sorry.
Sorry, through the chair, a reminder again that Rideau St. Lawrence bill includes both the water, sewer, as well as hydro. So there is a portion of that money is related to water, sewer, and there's some of that. The $20,000, we would have to look at the invoice specifically to see what the kilowatt use was, if that's what's the driving force, but.
If you could just email me a copy of that, I'd appreciate that. I'm not really too worried about a copy of the $8,000 one, but 20,000 just strikes me as I do apologize, Mr. Mayor, to both Mr. Spencer and the treasurer, that I had totally forgotten about the water and sewer in there. So.
And just for my recollection, is the sewer and water on from Rideau St. Lawrence, is that a bi-monthly or a quarterly billing?
Monthly.
Monthly billing. So that on that particular one for the 20,000, it would, even if sewer and water was included, would only be sewer and water for 1 month. Is that a fair way of looking at that?
Without looking at the bill, I wouldn't want to say specifically.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I have, Mr.
Councillor Dillawa.
I have a couple, one on page 369 of 449, just for a
Just a
record.
minute, 369?
Yeah, on page 369 on our, well, you don't have your iPad. Guess it'd be,
The bottom of the page, it should tell you. Should it not? It's just a photocopy of the page, is it not?
no, it'd be page 1 of batch 2020-0051.
Page 1, go ahead.
Very last, Simcoe Refrigeration, duly chaired to Mr. Spencer. Simcoe Condenser Fan Repairs 5976, is that cardinal or dispensable? If we could maybe try to keep that.
So, through the chair, I would prefer when questions are going to staff, they come through the chair, and I'm gonna direct them to the CAO, and then the CAO is gonna determine where they go from there. So, to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That would be the cardinal ring.
So it's Cardinal. Now, any further questions with the disbursement sheet?
I do, I just have one more, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
And I won't bother you anymore. On page, my 377, but it'd be batch 2020-00051, page 7. And it's halfway down Altemeyer, Public Works colored diesel Pittston. All I'm asking, if could we get the leaders on that too in the future? Is that possible, duly chair to the CEO?
I think what's happening here, and I'll direct the question to the CAO in a minute, but I think what happens is the descriptor is just taken from the invoice, is that correct? The problem would be, and I'm not trying to create a problem, but that particular invoice may represent several invoices, would it not?
Mr. Mayor, that could be the case, but we also have very limited spacing with respect to the reference on being able to put down. That's basically that may be the full character space available.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Got about 25 spaces, 25 characters.
Correct, but if we take out colored diesel and we take out the location of Pittston, you're not gonna know what, you'll have the leader amount, but you won't know where that's from.
Yeah, thank you.
But I think it's,
I just would like to know the leaders. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the counselor, there is a way of getting the leaders and very simply put the request, and I'm prepared to do that if you'd like. Put the request to the CAO to have that particular invoice analyzed and sent back to, emailed back to all members of council, showing the leaders. And if you would, please.
Mr. Mayor, and as indicated before, if there's questions or that a member has that they'd like to look at the invoice, by all means, to touch base with us, and the treasurer would be happy to go through the invoice with the particular member.
Good. Thank you very much.
One question, Mr.
Go ahead.
I'm on the same page under Regent Farm Supplies, which was the fourth from the bottom. I'm going to show my ignorance here on equipment, but could somebody tell me what a flail chopper is?
That would, Mr. Mayor, that would be the mower for the roadside tractor that was replaced as part of the capital.
Thank you.
Also called a brush hog or thing? Is that the same thing?
Similar.
Yes. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Okay, any further questions with the disbursement sheet? I haven't yet called the question. Councillor Hunter.
I just have more of an inquiry that I guess on batch 51, the numbers on page 6 there. I see we paid Robinson Consultants for number work done on number 2 drainage there. Did I miss it, or have we not received that report yet? Or?
Now, which batch is that, Councillor?
Oh, it ends in 51, it's from page 6.
Page what?
6. 51, that's 51. Robinson Consultants.
3/4 away now, Mr. Mayor.
Page 6, that's funny because, well, that's not so funny.
Page 186.
What's not funny is that I've lost track of where I am. Robinson Consultants, I've got it. Okay, thank you very much.
We got the bill for Robinson Consultants, but have we received a copy of that, or did I miss it someplace along the way? I don't recall seeing the report.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, the draft report has not been finalized, and we have not received it yet.
Okay, but it is the JRDR drain?
It is the County Road 2.
Road 2.
Municipal drain.
Oh, yeah. So what is this, an interim billing or something?
Yes, periodically as they work through preparing that final report. report, they will invoice us.
Okay, so Councillor Hunter, if you don't mind me jumping in here, have they issued a draft report?
We have not seen the draft report yet.
Oh,
We will need to follow up on.
That was where kind of my question, we seem to be paying for something, we haven't seen anything.
yep. Been there once before.
Yeah. On drainage, that's why I was questioning.
Yeah, know exactly where you're coming from. Okay, so if you would, Mr. CEO, if you'd follow up and see when we might expect the draft report, considering that we've already advanced some prepayments. All right, are there any other questions with regard to the disbursement sheets? All right, then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call the question on the disbursement sheets. So, those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion is carried, thank you. All right, now I'm at item number 11 on the agenda, which is the bylaws. There are 3 today. Employee code of conduct for a third reading, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that a bylaw to establish a code of conduct for employees of the Township of Edgeworth Cardinal be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-31.
2020-31. Now, further motions on the floor, further discussion or any discussion with regard to the third draft? Hearing none. Vote to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. So that becomes effective. And then moving to item number 11B, site plan control agreement for the Upper Canada District School Board, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement with Upper Canada District School Board, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, first and second reading for the site plan control agreement. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? All right, the motion is carried unanimously. Can proceed to third reading, Councillor.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement with the Upper Canada District School Board be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-32.
Thank you very much. Discussion of any on third reading? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And item number 11C, to amend bylaw 2018-77, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
This wouldn't be me. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-77 to appoint members and representative to certain boards and committees, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. First and second reading for this bylaw. Those in favor? Councillor Hunter? And the motion carries unanimously. Proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-77 to appoint members and representatives to certain boards and committees be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-33.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any, on third reading. Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And I'm at item number 12 on the agenda, which is the CAO's administrative update. And I'm gonna have the CAO go through his update for us, and then I'll ask Councillor Cameron to put the motion on the floor, but first to the CAO, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 1, just wanted to highlight with respect to the request for proposals for Phase 1 waterfront improvements. To advise on Friday, I sent it to members of council that we were successful with the RED grant to a value of $18,615. With respect to the South Nation Township Tree Day, so the free tree day was successful. Obviously with the COVID-19, we did actually had 5 or 6 staff members deliver to 140 residents 500 seedlings. So it went over very well. It was kind of arranged that we would leave them on the porch or whatever, sort of ring the doorbell or knock on the door and leave, so that we maintain social distancing. Very positive feedback in that regard. Just under bylaw, but it actually applies not only to bylaw, but fire and the emergency control group. We have weekly reports that are being submitted to the province for various aspects going on with COVID-19. The upcoming meeting schedule, so on June 1st, the Community Development Committee will be meeting at 6:30 p.m. If you notice, the remainder of the times have been to be determined, and that was something that I wanted to speak with council about, on whether they'd be looking at continuing 1 p.m. meetings for admin and finance and public works during June. On page 2, under facilities and recreation, just under public washrooms, right now we're working with the health unit on establishing protocols to look to see about the canteen washroom being opened. Under operations, public works, leaf and brush pickup, we had May 5th and I believe 19th in Cardinal, and May 7th and 21st in Spencerville, Johnstown, and New Wexford. As expected, with more individuals home, we did have higher quantities than normal during that period. On page 3, just with our distribution systems, that hydrant flushing and valve operations have been completed both on the Cardinal system and in the industrial park. For operations municipal drains, refunds and invoices have been issued, and a payment assessment agreement will be coming forward at the June administration and finance meeting. I think really those are probably the main highlights at this stage, and I'll look to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, let's see where we are. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, I just have a couple. On page 1, would be the third topic down, request for phase 1 of the waterfront. The subcommittee to review, has a date been set for the subcommittee to review the proposals as of yet through the chair?
Through the chair, the committee chair hasn't set a meeting as of this time.
Thank you. And my next is just down on regarding the tree day. Kudos to Wendy and staff, and there was a wonderful write-up in the paper with Wendy regarding that. Just once again, kudos on that. On page 3, under fire department, the pandemic, I just want clarification here. Am I to understand that there is a way that the fire department knows prior to attending a emergency whether or not there is a COVID-19 problem there? And I'd like to know how they would know that.
So through the chair, there is a portal operating that fire dispatch would be able to access data that would indicate if there has been a positive test at that particular location, and be able to relay that to fire in advance of them attending to the scene.
Okay, so that would probably also be available to police and any other.
I believe it's for all emergency agencies.
Okay, thank you. And just my last question is regarding training in the fire department. and it says that a live fire training is tentatively scheduled for August the 8th. Is that a abandoned building or anything like that going to be fired?
So through the chair, that will be the Lyndhurst training facility. They have a live fire training. I call it CAN, but
Okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Other questions for the CAO? Okay, I'll jump in there with a few of my own. So I'm going back actually to page 1. So I'll just echo the congratulations already made to staff concerning the free tree day. I did get a number of calls about that. Everybody was very impressed, and so to Wendy and her staff, and I think it was Wendy that probably organized it all. Certainly the coverage in the South Grenville Journal was good coverage for the township. Secondly, now, just wanted to acknowledge the grant, the red grant, $18,615. So was that through Mr. Spencer's department? Because the phone call I had from the MP said Mr. Spencer would be notified. Didn't say the CAO would be notified.
correct. Mr. Spencer is the main contact for that grant.
Okay, so he's the follow-up then.
He is the follow-up.
I just through the CAO, just warn Mr. Spencer till the paperwork's done, the money ain't here. I see there's quite a follow-up protocol that has to be worked its way through. So on the next item concerning bylaw, I'm just about the last sentence. The bylaw enforcement officer is also now preparing weekly summary data reports as required by the Ministry of the Solicitor General for the enforcement under the Provincial Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. And I guess my question is, why would we be preparing weekly summary reports? We already decided that our bylaw enforcement officer wouldn't be enforcing any of the provincial emergency orders. So are we not, did we not follow through with that? That was, by the way, was at the request of the OPP, that they be the enforcement agency and that our bylaw officers stand down.
Correct. And maybe the clerk might, would you like to answer that?
Through the chair, we have still received certain calls from individuals, which our bylaw officer fields and then passes on to the OPP. Any contact whatsoever in regards to enforcement in any nature, we do have to record.
Oh, I see. So
They're very specific.
oh, okay. So even if the call comes to us, we refer, it's still reportable.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That answers that question. Now, then, the CAO had asked for direction with regard to the start time of the Committee of the Whole Min Finance and Committee of the Whole Public Works. So what is the will or the direction of council here if we're all off, so to speak, some of us longer than others, and some hoping to get back sooner than others? Do we want to continue with the 1 o'clock meeting on the 8th and the 15th, or move it back to the traditional 6:30 time? Chair's looking for direction, as is staff. Deputy Mayor.
I quite thoroughly enjoy the Monday 1 o'clock for as long as I can accommodate it. I'll be happy to be here.
One person speaking.
I'm in too, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, another
It's
person
definitely better.
speaking.
9 o'clock in the morning suit me a lot better.
Me too, Counselor. Yeah, get my day underway.
Somebody else may not be working, but I am working every day.
Counselor Cameron, what's your druthers?
I'm fine with I'm certainly fine with the 1 o'clock meetings. However, we haven't addressed the port meetings or the regular council meetings. I'd be curious about those two committees as well.
Okay, well, the way I'm reading the table here right now is that the 8th and the 15th will be at 1 o'clock. And the port one, which was the 17th, I thought we had already decided that it would be at 9, did we not? I thought we decided that at the port meeting. We didn't, eh?
You did not, sorry.
I don't think so.
And is that the 17th then, the port meeting?
Yes.
Did we, is this the 17th?
Through the chair, it's set through our procedures that it's always the third Wednesday of the month.
Right. So we just haven't determined the time.
Correct.
Okay, well, is there anybody averse to us going to the 9 o'clock time slot on that one?
Be happy to accommodate Councillor Hunter.
Okay, so we'll mark the port meeting for 9 o'clock on the 17th. That ends that issue. Now we're back to the June 22nd regular council meeting. And is anybody averse to that being at 1 o'clock as per today's schedule?
I'm fine.
Okay, so that, it'll be 1 o'clock then on the 22nd of June. So that gets us through June for meeting times. Then I'm over on the top of page 2, under public washrooms. Now, the Legion Canteen washrooms and the outside washrooms at the Johnstown Hall will be open this week with proper social distancing signage. The portable outhouses at both dive sites will remain closed. Why are we leaving them closed when the others are open? Through the CAO, if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In reading the regulation and speaking with the health unit, the dive sites are still considered to be closed.
They are?
They are. They're not in the list of activities that were to open.
How do they differ? Oh, because they're dive sites, that's how they differ from the canteen washrooms? Is that what makes them different?
And also initially the thought was to look to open the canteen washrooms this week, but we want to seek some further guidance from the health unit with respect to frequency of cleaning, disinfection, and all those items to ensure that they're comfortable that we have everything in order
Okay, so,
before they're open. So that could be certainly subject to change.
okay, but the briefing note, I mean, if we hadn't asked the question, I would just assume that those canteen and outside washrooms at the hall, I just assumed that they would be open. So you're saying that subject to further guidance?
Correct, and my apologies, I thought I had mentioned that in my report on page 2. I did a verbal on that one, so. Okay,
the reason I'm asking about the portable outhouses at the dive sites is I am getting requests from the divers who would like to come back. We have 2 dive sites, and I know they'd like to come back, and so they're just waiting for a sign from us that we're still interested in seeing them at their locations. All right, I have no further questions. Councillor Cameron, would you bring your motion forward, please?
Yes, just one further question, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, through you, to the CIO regarding the outhouse or portable outhouse at the boat launch. Is that going to be open, or will that remain closed as well?
at this particular stage, it will remain closed.
And I accept that, thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that Municipal Council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried, thank you. And now I'm at item number 13 on the agenda, which is council inquiries or notices of motion. Are there any things to bring forward? I have Councillor Cameron, and then Councillor Dillabaugh, and then Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the CAO or Mr. Spencer. I've been getting calls regarding the walking track at the arena as to possibly opening that. Suggestions have been made, perhaps if it's open 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something along those lines. Has there been been any discussions over that situation with recreation?
Go to the CEO.
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Cameron. We haven't had any discussion about it. We are just starting to formalize an action plan for reopening some of our facilities, and the arena certainly is not at the top of the list right now. With the social distancing number is still at 5. If I have 3 operators in the building in the morning, then you only potentially have 2 walkers. And I don't know that we want to be able to utilize one of my operators to be on alert, having it open for, and being able to monitor those people that are coming in, because we do not have any summer students employed this summer at the present time.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. I fully agree with your reasoning on that. Thank you. I'll inform the questions that have been asked of the people. Thank you.
Councillor Dilba.
I just, thank you, Mr. Mayor, just want to give my thanks to the committee for the Rural Economic and Development Grant that we received on Friday. Great news, and hopefully that by June 12th we'll have a bunch of proposals that we can go over for our phase 1 at the waterfront project. So thanks again for everyone that helped out on that. I appreciate it.
And Councillor Hunter.
Now, I have a inquiry, I guess, or concern. We had as we all know, we had a brush fire last week. The fire department attended to. The operator of it, property owner, I guess, had a legal burn permit and had equipment on site looking after the fire. One piece of equipment broke down, and the other one he pretty near destroyed trying to get it, but unfortunately the fire jumped and got away from him, and he had to, after getting a lot of smoke himself, he finally had to call the fire department. And after the fire department responded and helped him for 2 hours, he got a bill for the fire department for being there, and I don't think this is sending a proper message from the township. We got a landowner that pays large taxes and does everything by the book. Gets a burn permit, called in for right to burn, had all his equipment on scene looking after it and stuff, and stuff beyond his control gets out, and we have to call the fire department, and we send them a bill. I think this is sending a message that don't go by the book, start the fire, and if it gets away, well, I don't know who started the fire. We've been through this, you know, Pat, over the years with quite a few in the township. And we've taken them to court and everything else, and we never get paid for it, so I think we're sending the wrong message to send a bill to somebody that tries to do everything he can within his power to stay within the rules, and then gets a bill after he does about $3,000 worth of damage to his equipment trying to keep the fire under control. I think this is the wrong message. I think the bill should be rescinded,
So, I guess, are you prepared, this is noticed as a motion, time on the agenda. Are you prepared to bring forward a notice of motion to have that, invoice withdrawn?
I would.
Okay, staff will take that as a notice of motion from Councillor Hunter, and, perhaps, Councillor, your, motion that comes forward would, probably should identify the individual, and probably in the rationale clauses should indicate that he had a permit, that he had done everything according to Hoyle, and that would rationalize the operative clause. So I think that then it becomes a debate of the councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Just to follow up on Councillor Hunter's request, would there be a full report accompanying the motion?
Through the chair, staff can certainly provide about a report.
Okay, so we'll have both a briefing note from the staff and a motion from the counselor. Now, are there anything else, is there anything else to bring up under council inquiries or notices of motion? Okay, I'm going to just bring one other thing forward, and that is, perhaps I'll go to the mayor's report and bring it up there, because it's all part of the same issue. So I'll start the mayor's report by referring to the first issue. And I apologize to council because I think we made it collectively, I think we made the wrong decision to have both the deputy mayor and I meet with the auditors. We did that because at the time that the decision was made, we weren't sure how we would accommodate a meeting with the auditor and still maintain the social distancing. And as it turned out today, we held the meeting in this room. Now, Deputy Mayor wasn't able to be here for the meeting, for the whole meeting, so it ended up basically myself and the treasurer and the CAO, joined by the port general manager and Rhonda, basically meeting with Ian Murphy. Now, that was a very fulfilling and educational meeting from my point of view, and I wish that other councillors had been here to hear the discussion, because things have changed in the world of auditing accounting, municipal audit accounting, and not just municipal, but in all other aspects. And I see it with my own accountant in Kenora. And the world is covered with, the accountant's world is covered with what I call cover your rear end paper. We gave you this, we're responsible for that, we're responsible for something else, we're responsible for something else, and we recognize that your only responsibility is to provide an opinion. So we had a good discussion with Mr. Murphy, and I know that at a previous meeting we did have a recommendation from staff that we should tender our auditing services. And I just want to signal to council that I'm averse to that recommendation. I think it sends the wrong message to the public when you tender your accounting services. People tend to wonder, why are they doing that? Did they get into a bit of trouble with their accountant? And you know, as far as the dollars and the cents are concerned, you can tender for auditing services, and depending on how things are going, you may get 3 bids where one company decides they're gonna knock off your current auditor and they come in $1,000 less or a couple $1,000 less. And then they have to learn everything all over again, and then by the 2nd or 3rd year, it's right back where it started from anyway. So when that issue comes forward, I'm going to be speaking against it. So just sort of put everybody on notice of that. I don't want to hide anything. And I've already signaled that to staff when we met with the auditor earlier this afternoon. So moving to my second item, I guess, and of course I put this first, Mr. Spencer, but it got preempted by the auditor's report. So congratulations, of course, are due to Mr. Spencer. He was named as the 2020 Roy Chapman Memorial Award winner for 2020. The Roy Chapman Memorial Award is presented to an individual, a player, executive member, coach, sponsor, friend, or supporter of the association who is deemed to have made a positive and productive impact on the association over a significant period of time. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And we saw pictures of the award. We didn't see pictures of the check that came with it. I'm assuming that that's the Minor Hockey Association or the Senior Level Hockey Association.
Yes, the Rito St. Lawrence, it's the Rito St. Lawrence Kings
Association.
that have the award.
Yeah, no, they were forced to cancel their season halfway through, I guess.
That is correct.
But will they remain a vibrant organization into the next season, do you think?
Absolutely.
They will. Oh, that's good news. All right, so just going on to the next item. So the natural gas survey forms were distributed over the last week, and Councillor Cameron and I finished the last group of them on Friday, May the 22nd. And the clerk advises me at 11 o'clock this morning, we had 50 rather, of those surveys returned to us. And Rebecca is keeping them in a file, and at the appropriate point in time after the 29th, we'll have 6 or 7 copies of each one made, and you all know how they're going to be distributed. The only thing that I wasn't able to get an update on for this meeting is how the Augusta survey is going. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to Mayor Malenka, but I'll do so this week. Next item, concerning the Greenfield donation to our swimming program. So, I've had emails from Brendan Bland, the general manager at Greenfield, more than eager to support the swimming program this year if we mount it. And if we don't mount it, he's asking me what other community organization would benefit from that donation. So I've asked him to hold off a little bit longer, because at this point I think we still have until round about the middle of June to make a final decision, or maybe you can bring us up to date on that, Mr. Spencer. Or have you crossed the bridge?
No, we have not crossed the bridge.
Thank you.
We are working on a plan if the numbers would allow it, but
Okay, we'll just hold that in abeyance for present time. I did ask the question of the medical officer of health this morning if the virus can survive in a chlorine environment, which is a swimming pool or Cardinal at least is a chlorine environment, and I got a rather wishy-washy answer from her, but I got a pretty definitive answer from the chief of the paramedic service, who felt that once you come in contact with the virus, it's in your eyes, it's in your mouth, even though you may go in the pool, he seemed to feel that the virus would survive. I don't know what that means, but anyway, that's his assessment. A follow-up a little bit on that. I wanted to refer you to something that came out of the county control group management emergency control group meeting this morning, and it came under the topic of the assessment center. Now, as you know, the Premier is on television now urging anybody and everybody who wants to be tested for the virus to show up at the assessment centers, and they will be tested. The Premier is trying to get to 16,000 tests a day. The best and the highest that they've been able to get is about 11,000. The assessment center in Brockville this past weekend has a capability of attesting up to 75 or 80 per day. 2 fully registered doctors, 2 to 3 fully qualified registered nurses on staff all day, several additional highly qualified technicians on staff for the whole day. The assessment center in Brockville tested 11 on Saturday and 30 on Sunday. You can read that how you may, but it tells me that people do not want to be tested for this virus. They're staying away in droves. Read that however you like, that's the facts. And that's why I think the Premier can't get to his 16,000. At some point, he's going to be forced to admit that the public has moved on here. That's what I'm thinking. Mapleview Manor Long-Term Care Home. You recall that 1 resident was tested positive and 1 staff member was tested positive. And on the basis of that, they declared an outbreak at the Mapleview Manor Home. Those 2 people were retested twice. That's 4 more tests on those 2 people. 3 of those tests have all come back negative. In other words, and probably by this afternoon they'll have the 4th test back. So we will know that of the 2 that tested positive originally, they were false positives. and it was a false declaration of an outbreak. So you'll see press releases to that effect sometime this week, almost for sure. If that one remaining test comes back a positive, then we've got a situation where that person had a positive, a negative, and a positive. Could happen. Now, just for your interest, here's some statistics from the paramedic chief this morning. Very interesting, you may want to write them down. On the basis of a study which has already been done, 0.1% of the population will likely contract COVID-19. Of that 0.1%, 15% of those people will be hospitalized. And of that 15% that are hospitalized, approximately a quarter of them will need to go to ICU. So translating that into the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, Gananoque, Brockville, and Prescott, we may see 1,500 people contract COVID-19, of which 250 would be hospitalized, of which maybe 45 or 50 would require treatment in the ICU. That's the statistics. On a broad front. So that's my report, and I call on Mayor Dishaw, or Deputy Mayor Dishaw. Gave you a promotion.
Very short-lived. Moved by, which I have no interest, by the way. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And now moving to item number 15, the question period.
Thank you for the comment you made about the free tree story. That was really a nice feel-good thing to run in this time.
And we appreciate the coverage.
I don't know how much Wendy appreciates the picture, but it turned out great.
Pictures don't lie.
Exactly. With regard to 8F on your agenda, Mr. Stephen White, you mentioned he's an independent, or is he with a company?
No. He's just an independent
Just
advisor.
independent
An ex-insurance executive, retired.
Okay. Independent advisor, okay. With 11A, with regard to the new employee code of conduct, was this just considered the time to do this, or was there a presenting issue?
No, we revised both the council code of conduct and the employee code of conduct as part of our normal course policy reviews.
Okay.
And we allowed both of those revised bylaws to go to first and second reading and then sit a month or two for additional input, and then came to third reading.
So the way I'm reading this is the last time you did that was 2016?
I can't answer that question off the top of my head. Can the clerk or the CAO help me here? What was the last revision? I'll ask the clerk.
Through the chair, the last revision was in 2016. It's best practice to do it every 5 years or every new term of council.
Okay.
This one, we did a revision in 2016. I think it was in regards to workplace violence and harassment.
Okay, are there any big changes in this one, any departure from 2016?
No, when we did the review, when we did the review at the committee level before first and second reading, I think the changes were relatively minor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And could I see a copy of the criteria for that Ray Chapman Award? Reading from...
Yes, now, I took that from the announcement, but you're more than happy to have a photocopy of this.
Okay, I'd like to follow up on that and with a photo. if I can.
Well,
Go get your suit and tie.
I can't guarantee it will go on the front page, that's the editor's decision.
yeah, we understand.
Um,
So I'll make sure that the clerk gets you a copy of
Okay, I
this.
think that's definitely worth a mention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
That's
your
all-
interest.
That's all at this time.
Okay, so that's the end of the question period. We have no closed session. Chair's looking for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by the resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2020-34.
Those in favor? Motion is carried, thank you. And, Chair's looking for the motion to adjourn.
I've got that one. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council now does adjourn at 2:56. Record time these days.
Thank you very much. Those in favor of the motion to adjourn? Motion is carried.